Welcome! Today we are going to make garlic naan at home. Here are all the ingredients you will need to make the naan. I have them pre-measured and portioned out for the recipe. They are 500 grams of all-purpose flour, 2 tablespoons vegetable oil, 3/4 cup room temperature whole milk yogurt, 2 teaspoons kosher salt, 2 teaspoons dry active yeast, 1 teaspoon granulated sugar, 1/4 cup warm water, 3/4 cup warm milk, and in the back I have some melted butter with about 3 cloves of garlic that I've already run through the garlic press. And next to that I have some torn and chopped coriander or cilantro leaves for finishing. Ready? Let's do this. Dissolve the sugar and the yeast in that 1/4 cup of warm water. We want it to be about the temperature of bath water. Stir it really well to get it nice and incorporated and leave it there for about 10 minutes until it's good and foamy. While you're waiting for your yeast to activate, we are going to mix our salt and flour together. And I'm just going to get this nice and mixed together so that it is well incorporated. So it's been about 10 minutes and our yeast is nice and foamy, which is exactly the way we want it, and it's ready to go. So we are going to add it to our flour along with the milk and the oil and the yogurt. Scrape that out really well. And I'm going to take this dough whisk here and I am going to start to stir this around. And what I want to do is wait until there's some good solid clumps forming. And after that starts to happen, use your rubber scraper or spatula to gently fold the dough over on itself. And what we're doing is we're building up the structure of the dough when we do that. So you want to just repeat that process. Again, just taking the dough off your fingers because it's pretty sticky and just folding it over and over again until you have a cohesive, shaggy ball. Now, as you are folding it, you'll see here that there's some flour accumulating there. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use the moisture in the dough to sop up that extra flour. So each time I turn the dough over on itself, I'm incorporating more and more of that flour into the dough. And by the time I'm finished, that will all be incorporated into one cohesive dough ball. So I've changed from my spatula to my hand and I'm just kneading the dough in the bowl. And you can see that all of the flour has been absorbed, which is a good thing. You want that. And I'm going to do this for about 2 to 5 minutes. So after about 2 to 5 minutes, I am going to turn that dough ball onto a lightly floured surface. And I'm going to just pat it and knead it a little bit for about maybe 2 to 5 additional minutes. And this is just going to help me build structure and texture in my dough. And you'll notice as you knead it that it gets less sticky and it gets softer and more supple and easier to handle. Okay, so it's been about 5 minutes or so of kneading and I am ready to take my bench scraper, which really comes in handy when you're handling sticky dough, and I am going to do some finishing moves here to get this into a nice cohesive unit. I'm just going to pat it a little bit like a baby. And then I am going to put it on my bench scraper and put it into a well-oiled bowl. And that's where we are going to let it sit for rising. So the dough is in our bowl, and now we are going to cover it with a plate so that it'll stay nice and moist, and we are going to let it sit here until it doubles in size. In my kitchen, that usually takes about an hour, but the length of time it will take you will depend on the temperature of your kitchen. So while the dough is rising, let's talk about how we're going to cook the naan. We're going to use a pizza steel. This is about 15 by 15. It's pretty heavy. And one of the keys to making really good restaurant quality naan is to get your steel nice and hot. And you can see here that we've got the steel on the second to highest setting. There you can see the rungs there on the oven. and it's about 6 inches or so from the broiling element. Now that we've got the steel in the oven, we are going to set that oven to as high of a temperature as it will go. Mine is 550, some are 500, that's okay. Just set your oven to the maximum temperature and let that preheat for about an hour. Okay, so we're checking back in with our dough, and indeed it has doubled in size. So we are going to very carefully take it out of the bowl and onto a lightly floured work surface. And once we've got it on that work surface, it'll be time to start shaping it. We've got it on the work surface, and what we're going to do is we're going to form the dough in a ball by tucking the edges under. We've got our edges all tucked under, and we're going to pat it like a baby, and then we are going to divide the dough into equal portions. Now, I started with 4 portions, but that seemed a little bit too big. So I ended up taking those 4 pieces and dividing each of them evenly into 2 more pieces to make a total of 8 naan. We've got our dough sectioned, and now it's time to form the dough balls. To make the dough balls, draw the edges up together and then roll the dough ball around either in your hands or on the cutting board to form a ball. We're going to repeat that process here, bringing the edges up together. The dough's pretty sticky, so that should work out pretty easily for you. And we're going to roll it into a ball and repeat that process until you have the desired number of dough balls. Okay, so last dough ball here, and now we have all of our dough balls and they are ready and shaped. And one of the things about dough when it's been handled is that it tends to snap back when you try to roll it out. So one of the things I like to do is set these dough balls to rest for anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes, maybe 30 if you want. The longer you let them sit, the more time they have to relax, and the more they will cooperate when you roll them out, and they will keep their shape without snapping back. All right, so I have put these in a covered baking sheet and let them sit, and they are all ready to be rolled out. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn each dough ball out on a lightly floured work surface, and we are going to pat those down with our hands, a little bit on each side, get them coated with a light dusting of flour. And then we are going to commence rolling them out. So you just want to roll them in one direction and back and forth, and then turn them about a quarter turn and repeat the process. So you'll want to keep rolling each piece out until it's your desired thickness. The thickness is proportional to how chewy and bread-like the texture of your naan will be. So if you like it on the breadier, chewier side, you may want to keep it a little thicker. And if you like it more on the crispy side, you're going to want to get it a little thinner. I tend to like mine a little more on the crispy side, so I roll mine pretty thin. Once it's your desired thickness, we're going to transfer it onto our pizza peel and maybe roll it once or twice so it's still in shape for you. One important tip here is you want to make sure that this is not sticking to your pizza peel. If you find the dough sticking, just give it a light coating of flour and make sure it's got a little wiggle room when you shake the peel so that it will go safely from the peel and right on to your hot baking steel. Okay, so we're going to go over to the oven, and you can see it's been preheating here for about an hour at 550, and right before we put our naan in, we're going to change the setting to broil and turn the broiler up on high. Once that broiler is nice and hot, we will put our dough in and we will watch the magic happen. Here we go. That's a tough camera angle there. Hard to do this one-handed. We're going to put our dough onto the pizza steel and close up our oven and take a look and watch as the bubbles start to form. Wow, look at that. Our naan has gotten quite puffy, and don't worry about that. The higher the dough goes, the closer to the broiling element it is, the more likely you are to have those coveted char marks. So we will leave that as is and leave it in there for about 30 seconds total. After about 30 seconds and it starts to brown on the bottom, it's time to flip it over. Leave it in there for about 10 seconds more and your naan will be all finished. Okay, so I have my last naan here. You can see above that I've got the other naans that are finished. And I'm just going to give this a quick dusting with the garlic butter. And you're going to want to dust each piece with garlic butter right after it comes out of the oven. I've already done that with those that you see up here, along with a sprinkling of torn coriander or cilantro leaves, which I think gives it a nice restaurant quality finish. And man, is it delicious. So there you have it. It's a little labor intensive, but it's not too difficult. I'd give yourself about 2 hours to make it, and that's including the rise time. And I sure do hope you've enjoyed this as much as I've enjoyed making it for you. So take care, y'all, and happy cooking.